Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to a new episode of Micadelic. This is Mike Brancatelli, of course. You're you. I'm me. Sometimes you're me through you, and I'm you through me. Well, got a good episode for you today. Got my pal Matt Xian back on the show. You may know him through Timewheel. He is the creative director and founder of Timewheel, an independent record label, artistic media platform, creative studio, and they are creating a lot of forward-thinking music, art, and culture. He's also a musician, entrepreneur, social media whiz kid. He manages the DMT, the Spirit Molecule Facebook page. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that page. And he is the host of the new podcast, relatively new, Xian Archive, that I had the pleasure of being on the season 1 as he's releasing them in seasons. And we're just like hanging out and having a casual chat, creator to creator. And Matt's like one of my favorite people to talk to about being a podcaster, being a creator, being an artist, trying to, make your way in really like hyper individualistic, crony capitalist sort of environment, and how to do that authentically and how to navigate that. And Matt always has this calm Zen presence to him. He's always really even keeled, and I think it's a lot due to the work that he does on himself and the consistency and commitment that he has with it, and also being focused on his vision. So yeah, he's just one of my favorite people. We talk about tools and techniques to attain and stay in steady flow states of sort of, quote unquote, enlightened levels of consciousness, or, I don't even want to say that because it's like, dangerous territory. You're talking about being, it's not about being enlightened, but in, approaching that state where you just feel like you're in a flow, you're creating, things are happening, you're connecting with people, synchronicities are increasing, and you're just in a good zone. So we talk about, some ways to sort of make that more of a constant. We talk about the Vedic cosmos perspective. I think they were the original flat earthers, as you'll see. I don't know. We'll have to dive into it more, but we talk about that. Matt brought it up on the show, and we talk about the Buddha, and we talk about a lot of stuff. We'll talk about a lot of stuff that you'll hear. So no need to tell you all about it here. You'll get right into that conversation. Before we do, just want to give a big shout out to everybody who is supporting me on Patreon. And, I've been really heavily active on Patreon for the last 3 months now, and really trying to give all the patrons, their show them love and support for being producers of this show. Essentially, I that's what I consider it. It's a funding projects, and people that are patrons are funding these projects. So big shout out to everybody who is a patron, and consider becoming a patron, because I'm releasing, I got a new comedy focused podcast that is sort of in the like beta testing realm right now on Patreon. But we're getting good feedback. People seem to really like it, think it's funny. That's good. And, for me, I used to do stand-up. I was doing stand-up in New York City between 2013 and 2015, 16-ish, and was, hanging out with a lot of comedians and stuff, and was on the Gas Digital Podcast Network, Part of the Problem, the show Part of the Problem with Dave Smith, and my path just went kind of a different way. I decided to kind of get into some different things, but I still always remain that with that eye, or that element of comedy. That's sort of the lens in which I view the world. So I wanted to create a container to allow for more absurdity, silliness, and I think eventually that is going to be the show. I'm still sort of in the, like, I guess, back to square one in a sense, at like an open mic level, with trying to get the podcast to be this thing that I want it to be. But like I said, it's been really fun. It's been really good. People have been really liking it. It's completely different, totally different style than anything that I've released on here. Obviously with some similarities because it's me. But it's me, my co-host Matt, and we're just ranting and raving about all the things that are absurd and silly and weird in the world. So go to patreon.com/MikeBrank and become a patron. Sign up for $5 a month, and you get access to these bonus episodes we're calling them Dosadelic is the working title. Kind of a double entendre. Dose as in there's two of us, and dose as in it's a little micro pod dose, little getting dosed with some new podcast action. So check that out. It's really fun. I'm really happy about it, and yeah, I couldn't do it without the patrons. Really, they're huge. So much love to all of you guys, and we're having a lot of fun on there. You also get access to the Inner Sanctum Discord server, where everybody from all around the world that supports the show is connecting and sharing trip reports and stories and asking questions and sharing memes and gifs and gifts, whatever, and then we have like bonuses and rewards and things like that as well. And you can support the show for any amount that you want, but you get access to the bonus episodes and stuff starting at $5. And yeah, check it out, Mike Brank. It's patreon.com/Mike Brank. I don't think you can search for me on Patreon. I don't know, maybe I'm like shadow banned on Patreon or something. But I tested it out, and a couple other people brought it to my attention. If you search Mike Brancatelli or Mikeadelic on Patreon, you won't find me. So you have to go to the link, and the link is in the show description. So just tap that there, and you get access to all that stuff. And thanks to everybody that leaves ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts. It's huge. It's huge. And I recently just found out that there's more reviews. Apple Podcasts only shows the reviews that are in this country. So big shout out to everybody all around the world that has left ratings and reviews. Got my first 1-star review. Ouch. But I'm not too worried about it because, yeah, I guess sometimes, with designing this show, this show's not for everybody. This show is kind of like, we got to be friends. We got to hang out. You got to enjoy me and the people that I bring on, and know that, like, we're not professionals. We're not experts. Where I can sort of still consider myself to be a comedian, even though I'm not doing stand-up. I'm on sabbatical, or I'm on a leave. Maybe I will get up on the stage one day, but I like to make funny things. I like to have fun. I like to be loose. I don't like to be so serious. And I think this person was just like, oh, this seemed kind of juvenile or something, and they left a 1-star review. Hey, if you got a problem with something, if you got a critique, I'd really appreciate it if you reached out to me and let me know, and maybe it's something that I can correct or look into. I'd be happy to do that. Happy to hear you out. But really, I would love for people, if they enjoy the show, if they really love the show, to go and leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You don't even have to write a review, just 5 stars is good, because it helps boost us up in the algorithms. We broke the top 100 in the society and culture philosophy category, so that's really cool. And it's just a way for more people to find the show. More people find the show, the more it grows, the more I'm able to do cooler things, get bigger guests, and do some more fun type stuff that I want to do. So that's it for that little wrap. The next one is Sheath Underwear, baby. Go to sheathunderwear.com. Get the most comfortable pair of boxer briefs you're ever going to wear. I love them. I really like them a lot. And I think they're great. They have a pouch compartment. They separate your man parts down there. You don't have to use the pouch compartment, but it's an option if you're like really doing a lot of heavy exercise and it's sweaty and sticky and hot out there, So it's just, they have really cool designs. I love the Flower of Life print that they have. And it's just really, really soft, comfortable, moisture-wicking fabric, and it's really, really great. I'm pitching it everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, I pitch Sheath Underwear because I love them and they pay me. So it's a win-win, right? And yeah, even when I blast off in the DMT realm, the entities, the self-transforming machine elves are like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, yo, go to sheathunderwear.com, put in the promo code Mikeadelic for 20% off. And they're doing it. They're supporting me. And I appreciate that. I'm going to try and get some of those entities some discount codes as well, and they can start promoting it in multidimensional fractal hyperspace realm over there. Maybe there's other disembodied entities that hope to get a body one day, and then when they get one, they'll slide right into a pair of Sheath. But Sheath is just the best. So go to sheathunderwear.com, put in the promo code Mikeadelic at checkout, get 20% off. We also got Mushroom Revival, which just makes awesome products. Mushroom Revival is making awesome mushroom tinctures and awesome mushroom products. I like their cordyceps. Go to Mushroom Revival, get 15% off all mushroom products. Enter the code Micadelic at checkout. All the links are in the show description. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening. I love you all. Let's get into this awesome conversation with my good friend Matt Xian. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Micadelic. I'm here with Matt Xian, past podcast. And then now I'm just speaking. That part was in Zisfrian. You guys don't speak that language. It's from Zeta Reticula. That's what we speak over there. It's the language that we speak predominantly English, but then when we stumble on our words, we go into that language.
That's it. Just last night, my big homie Mitch, he showed me the film K-Pax. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, with
really good Spacey. Film. Yeah,
I remember seeing that and just being like, okay, so he thinks that he's from this other star system and he's an alien from Earth, but everybody's like, there's something wrong with him. He has mental issues or something, right? Mm-hmm. But then like weird things start to happen where they can't really explain it. So what's your takeaway from that movie?
I loved it.
Is he an alien or does he just have trauma?
It's a good question. And, I think the simple scientific explanation is that he had the trauma and somehow or another his mind, his psyche was able to create this whole new personality to block him from the terrible thing that happened. And at least he can be happy and in a good mood if he's this alien person versus there's no way you can really recover from what had happened to him. So it does seem like, on the surface level, it was like a trauma type thing. But in the metaphysical sense, who's to really say? I don't know whether or not he was an alien. He chose to believe he was. So to him, it was real. You know what I mean? And
interesting. He chose to believe he was an alien in order to cope with his like uncopable trauma or something, right?
100%. And
maybe I should give that a rewatch.
I recommend it. I had never watched it, and I said that like 5 times during the viewing with Mitch. We kind of do these like film study nights where we're just gonna like check out films recommended either by him or some of our other friends, and just kind of talk about director to director. He's my mentor, and he's a film director, and I'm an up and coming director, so to speak, and we just talk about why it's so good. What makes this shot good? What makes that shot good? What's up with the color? What's up with the storytelling angles? And last night we were talking about title sequencing and how that's its own art form.
Yeah.
So I had never seen that film, and I was like, how have I not seen this? Because it was such, for me, a mind-blowing film. And I seek out mind-blowing films, you know what I mean? And I had never come across that, never heard of it. It never once knew it existed till last night. So it was really cool. And I really want to rewatch it again. But I just want to, now knowing more about it, the second time you watch a movie, it always leads to deeper insights about it and things you didn't pick up before and that type of thing. But I really recommend it. And I was almost wondering where the name originated, K-Pax. You know what I mean? It's like such an interesting name. Like I think a lot of alien and otherworldly kind of vibes carry these K's and these X's. It's like where, like the K, the X, like the
Yeah.
Q, like the Z, like these weird letters
It's
that
like you're an alien.
I'm an alien. Yeah, sure
Yeah.
am. So are you. Cheers.
Xian archive. Yeah. Cheers to being aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this movie the other night, The Sound of Metal. It was it's an Amazon original. It's with Riz Ahmed. He's a heavy metal drummer and starts to go deaf.
Oh.
And like I thought what it was a very unsettling movie. It was really emotional. But I thought one of the things that they did really well was the descending into the deafness and how the world sounds to him when he's losing his hearing. And then other things happen. They just really like the soundscape of the hearing loss and hearing, going in and out and stuff. I think they did it really, really well.
Wow, I need to see that. That's an interesting one. A few times in the past, when I would go swimming, water gets stuck in my ear. I think I just have like a weird shaped inner ear where I can't just get it out. Some people would just like hop on one foot and get it out. It wasn't coming out for me. So for like 1 or 2 days, I couldn't hear, and it was honestly scary. And I was waiting for like the doctor's office to reopen to go in and get it, blown out of there. What they did was put more water in it essentially and just like squirted this thing in my ear.
Oh yeah.
And it somehow or another blew it out. It got it to shoot out through the pressure. But
ears are fucking weird.
I know. Yeah. But for 1 or 2 days there, I couldn't hear. There was water sloshing around. And that's happened a handful of times in my past. And it's just one of the weirdest feelings because you just you feel so debilitated when you really can't hear. And, like I'm really used to it. And, my whole job is around hearing and stuff. So.
Yeah. It really, whenever I always forget, I always forget to sort of like be grateful, I guess, So watching this movie, like at the end of it, I'm like, God damn. It's like, man, that was fucked up. I'm like, I'm just so happy that I'm like, I don't have anything wrong. Like I have no serious issues, thank God, but it's like with this movie, it happens so quickly. And it's just like, man, like, it brings in the fragility of life, how things can just happen and your life just suddenly changes, so it's just like, man, like, it's fucking, I like those because I like those moments to reflect and say, oh yeah, shit. Like, thank God. Like I'm grateful that I'm like, somewhat normal.
It's so easy to take a lot of things for granted. Even, like when you get a cold or a cough and you just feel miserable and your chest is, and you can't breathe through your nose and you can't taste food and all this stuff that happens. Like when it happens, it's like, I can't wait to get back to just normal. But then we kind of forget each day that we have this health, right? We have our hands, our feet, we have our taste, we have our smell, we have our sight, we have our hearing. And yet we're still finding stuff to complain about. It's like we have all of this beautiful sensory data to be appreciative for, and people will look at the box, the TV, and start feeling like everything in their life is wrong. It's a funny conversation me and my brother just had even today about how the news never stops. It's never going to say everything's good. You know what I mean? It's like, actually, we're past it all now and we're good. It's like, nope, more issues, more issues, more issues. They just they want you in this cycle of feeling like nothing's good enough. Here's everything wrong with the world. You're not good enough. Nothing, you know what I mean? And I just had to turn that shit off. I don't watch it. I don't pay for cable. Like, I'm so done with it. I don't know. It doesn't benefit me. If anything, it only hurts me to be this informed.
Totally. Because what are you being informed of? All you're being informed of is this particular narrow band of reality, this like very narrow slice of reality that is just being pumped out like nonstop, 24/7, drilled into people's heads. And I don't know, like it's not really beneficial to us. It's not good nutrition. It's like it's just it's a bad habit. I've completely disconnected. I've completely cut like my cord from being concerned about the anything that's playing in the news cycle, other than just to kind of look at it from afar and go, oh, I guess that's happening. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's going on now. Guys with
Right.
buffalo soldier hats and, screaming that they're quantum shamans are raiding the Capitol. Up. Yep. Great. Okay. Sure. I mean,
Totally.
if someone tries to come and stop me from like making podcasts or doing things in my life, then like I'll maybe get involved. But it's too much. There's too much of this connectedness to this larger thing that I feel like it doesn't really impact most people's daily lives. They just kind of, I remember in college, we would watch The Daily Show, and I felt like I was becoming an adult because I was being informed about like worldly events, So there was this like feeling of being like, well, I'm informed. I know the news. Like I know things. But I just feel like it's so irrelevant now. There's so much shit out there. Why would you dedicate any of your time to that annoying, nagging BS? There's so much infinite creation, infinite amount of creativity and art and music and fun to be had in every single corner of the world.
100%.
I ain't got time for that.
I know. Imagine on your deathbed if you were to look back and calculate the amount of hours you sat and watched the news. Like it is, some people had it worse than others, but it's like, is that why we're here? You think that's this miracle of life?
That'd be great if it was.
Yeah,
we die and go to heaven, and
they're like, well, you didn't watch enough news, so you're not getting in. It's
the
just
purpose of life is to watch the news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I heard recently from a buddy who was on my podcast and said, "What is this amount of information doing to our brains? It's way more than we are typically used to processing as an animal. Like, we don't need to know that much stuff. Like, it's good to be informed, but this is a new level of being informed. You know what I mean? You're informed every second of all this other new stuff that really has nothing to do with you or your life or your goals. It's just, that's not a normal thing. Like in the past, you literally had to go buy a newspaper, sit down and read it. Now it's everywhere you look. News, phone, computer. It's just, and they find creative ways. Dude, just now, like, that, I think that these phones can pick up on your swiping patterns, and they'll put something that drops down. Like just now, an Apple alert came at the top of my phone right as I was going for the X on something. I was going to close something, and right then, it probably knew I was going to close it. It dropped down a news story, and I accidentally clicked it instead, and it opens up a news story. It's like the technology just tricked me into getting them a view on the news story. I was literally going for the X. It's like, I'm leaving. It's like, nope, here's some more.
Yeah, and you have to work to set things up so it doesn't, like I have to, what I do is I turn all my notifications off pretty much, like and I'll just check periodically. Like I'll open WhatsApp, I'll open Discord, or open my email, and like if someone messaged me like 30 minutes ago, then like I'll get to it, whatever. It's not the end of the world. If somebody urgently needs me, they're gonna text me or call me, and then all other notifications I just periodically check and see what I get. But I can't you have to make the conscious effort to set all of your devices up so there isn't this like bombardment of information and stuff. And I don't know, I guess Apple has its own news thing. Like I just X that. I got rid of that. I'm like, I don't want that,
I need, that's what it was. Yeah.
And
that's that's a really good point. And there's this concept.
I'll find out about it. Like totally. If there's something really serious going on, someone's going to tell me about it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. That leads me to this concept of death by 1,000 cuts, So if you get cut once, it's, you're just like, it's a baby cut. But if someone comes up and cuts you 1,000 times, it's going to do real damage. And essentially that's what's happening with these phones being such a distraction to us all day. Like if it distracted us once a day, that's one thing. but it tries and distracts us all day. Like every 5 minutes, unless you've done what you are, have done with the notifications, and other people who just delete the apps entirely, or do deep work where they put their phone away and don't look at it for an hour or two or four or whatever you can manage. Yeah, like every 5 minutes, your attention is diverted from what you're doing to checking the phone, checking the notifications, checking the email. And that's a death by 1,000 cuts, because now we get done in a week what we used to get done in a day, as a society, as creatives, as entrepreneurs, maybe even if we're not really disciplined with being able to say no to these devices and the notifications. It's just like they've really, like, productivity is probably just gone like down, you know what I mean? Just as far as like a human race, just due to the amount of entertainment and distraction that the phones offer. Like, people live there instead of do the things they know they want to do.
Our devices are our vices.
Yeah, it says it in the name,
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, I think that it just takes such a tremendous willpower, whereas it didn't, like, ages ago. Like, I remember watching this documentary on this guy, David McCullough, this author, and he has this little barn in the back of his house. It's like his writing shack. And he goes back there and he just has a typewriter, and that's it. And it's like a desk, a chair, a typewriter in this little shack in the garden. And he's like, oh, I go out here and I just write. And it's like, man, that is awesome. And it's like, you really have to make an effort now to shut things down, shut things off, go away, especially if you're trying to create. Like, I'm trying to create more. And even still, like, I'll be like, oh man, like, I wonder what this, I'm always on YouTube. I feel like YouTube is my main thing. Yeah. Like, I've been getting into the Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien's other book called The Silmarillion. It's like the history of Middle Earth. What this guy wrote, it's like he had to be like channeling this from another dimension's history or something. Like, I can't believe that he came up with all this stuff. And I'm like falling asleep and I'll wake up at like 2 a.m. and it'll still be playing, and it'll be like, the Númenóreans came from the Dunedain family in the Third Age when Saruman was invited from Morgoth's temple. And I'm like, it's like, how did you come up with this stuff, Token? Like, man. Yeah.
I would bet
those are my distractions, is like YouTube videos and things like that. But I have to make an effort to sit down and shut it all off to create,
100%. Yeah, I'm a big fan of J.R.R. Tolkien as well. And I really would bet that magic mushrooms were involved in his writing. You know what I mean?
Think? Is there any like stuff about that out there? Like, did he?
I can only say, based on the resonance of the visual and the storytelling that it has with my own experiences with mushrooms.
They mention mushrooms in there.
Yeah, it's just like kind of how they make the world feel. They make it feel mystical and magical and full of wonder and unknown things that you could discover and go on journeys and adventures and actually do. Mushrooms gives me that feeling, and that's really encapsulated through his films, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. It feels very similar to that. Like, I feel like you can tell when storytelling is informed by certain maybe levels of consciousness or experiences had by that director or that writer. Sometimes maybe they're coincidence, but other times it just feels like so directly influenced by something that because of an experience you had with psychedelics, or it can even be without psychedelics, just through spiritual practice, that to you it begins to feel very much inspired by that mental landscape.
Yeah, I just saw another movie, Disney Pixar movie, Soul, and it was really good. It was definitely, you're like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, whoever's writing this, so there's people that are writing or contributing to this are definitely tapped in. They've definitely experimented with some form of an altered state of consciousness to come up with some of the things that they came up with in the movie. It's like about the afterlife, and then the guy goes to the before life, and then he's trying to get back to Earth to like get his soul back into his body, and it's really cool.
Yep. I feel that too. And I also have this suspicion that a lot more people are influenced by psychedelics than even claim to be. Because I feel like sometimes people will, publicly deny using psychedelics because they think it's going to impact their career, or maybe they feel like they want the idea to feel like it came from them in their imagination instead of having the help of something, to help loosen those gears up and get the ideas churning, because it certainly does that. But yeah, I feel like probably a lot more people, experiment with these things and come to amazing discoveries, whether it be creative or even scientific, than really will even speak publicly about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know
like
that
a little secret. It's their secret.
what's the guy? The guy's name is Francis Crick. He was like he discovered the DNA double helix, and
Right.
he was one of the discoverers of that. I think it was two guys that made the discovery of it, and he credited LSD as being like a huge inspiration for him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and that is what our whole science model is based off of, something that was discovered in an altered state. People tend to think of an altered state as a distortion of reality rather than an enhancement. And it could be both. I think it can be enhanced enough that it becomes distorted, but I think on its first maybe level of entering a mushroom experience or any psychedelic experience, what it's doing is enhancing your senses, allowing you to see more information that is actually present in the field of reality, before it takes that effect of where you might project an object onto an object, and that's a quote unquote hallucination. Where I've seen, for example, like a tree stump take the form of like a wolf head, and it was like my imagination saying that looks like a wolf head, so let's project it. You know what I mean? Like that is more of a hallucination, a projection of your mental onto the physical. But before you get to that point, I think it's actually showing you more things that are there. It's just opening your eyes, and quietening the mind to the point that you're not thinking about 90 things. You're only thinking about what you're observing simply, and more of your brain power, which we only use 10% of each day, is directed towards the observing of, nature or yourself or whatever it is that we're able to see on these psychedelics.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I imagine that people that have reached really consistent, steady states of enlightenment, are probably just continuously walking around in this, sort of heightened psychedelic type state where they're just noticing more and more of reality. I would imagine that would probably be what it would be like, because they seem to me to really be keyed in on the fine details, having, all the, like Thich Nhat Hanh, for example, someone like that, the way he talks, his pacing, his sort of demeanor, that I just feel like he's probably just taking in all of these fine details of reality, because he's like consistently in that state,
Right.
and our world is designed in a way so that we don't have easy access to that state. That's why people pay all this money to, like, how do I get to that state? How do I maintain that state? How do I achieve that state? How do I achieve that state while working, at Amazon, or like, it's like, how do I do? And it's like, sometimes it's like sometimes it's just like, hey, it's not possible sometimes to plug in, to what we've created from that severed connection, and then bringing that repaired connection back into the world of the manifested severed connection. It's like, hey man, like it's the wrong charger for the iPhone. You got to upgrade.
Yep, exactly. And it is a level of creating space in your life for that to exist. I think the guy you mentioned, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Say it one more time.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
There you go.
Yeah.
Who I've read and I've heard his some of his stories, but I just couldn't pronounce his name correctly. But I think the state he's in takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of closing down other areas of life that, you know, maybe we're scattered in a couple of different goals we want to achieve. When you bring that focus and to be narrow and say, this is the goal I want to achieve, mostly this one only being enlightenment or spiritual understanding, it'll still take much time, but you certainly will get there faster than trying to work at Amazon and gain enlightenment, or do, you know, like all these different, you know, creative things as well. It's crazy. It's just about what you want. What do you want from life? You know, if you want enlightenment, you can have it. You can get it. I think it's something that you have to work towards daily. And there's always going to be days where it's just not there, even for the people that live it. You know, even people that wake up in monasteries some days, I would bet, don't feel it. They're just like, I don't feel it today. And then another day, they'll be like, I'm 100% in it right now. Like, I'm so glad I'm at the monastery and I chose this life for me. But other days, I'm sure they're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I'm not feeling it. You know, there's a lot of challenge. I've watched documentaries about people, you know, taking spiritual pilgrimages and going to hermitages and wanting, you know, being inspired by yoga or meditation or even psychedelic experiences to go try to attain this thing. And then they get out there and it's freaking miserable for them. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, because I think because they're really wanting it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the main thing about one of the main, I guess, misconceptions is that in like the spiritual community or whatever, the people that go to participate in talks with, you know, people like Thich Nhat Hanh, like Adyashanti, Pema Chodron, Buddhist monks, Zen teachers, people of that ilk, like they are so desperately wanting to know what these people know so that they can let go of all the things that are in the way of them getting to the place that they want to go. Yeah. But then they're building all of these things up. You know, they're like, oh, I gotta meditate and I gotta do, and it's like, no, like you have to, in order to gain the understanding, you need to like completely just, I think, surrender and completely let go and completely just sink in. And I think that's just a sort of a difficult concept, especially in a hyper individualistic, hyper commodified, commercialized type of world, because it's like, okay, you know, spirituality for sale, like, you know, 30 minutes a day, you know, get my book, 10 steps to, you know, being an enlightened prick or whatever it is, you know? And so it's like, we want the thing, but then, and we can get a little bit of it, but then it's like, no, it's not good enough. It's like, then I want the whole thing, but it's like, all right, you want the whole thing. Like you need to give up this entire facade that you've got going on.
Yep. Belongings, you know, things that relationships, like these things that are really beautiful. Relationships, friendships, you know, finding a romantic partner. These things are what life is centered around for most people. It's just like that engagement with other humans. These guys have to give that up and go in these quests to be alone, to really discover their self. There's a really good documentary. I think it's called The Yogis of Tibet, and it shows a number of people who go into retreat, which it makes it funny to me how people use the word retreat these days, because a retreat to them meant one thing and one thing only. You're going away for months. You know what I mean? It's like retreat. Like, I'm literally leaving this life for sure for like months to get some type of understanding. And, you know, again, they'll be out there and it's just not there sometimes, but other times I'm sure they get really big glimpses. I kind of wonder, that'd be a really interesting documentary to shoot. interview some monks and ask them how often is it that they're in the state of bliss, in the state of samadhi or nirvana or some what was the other one? I'm forgetting what. Satori. There it is. Like, how often is it that they're getting these moments? How often are you in Satori? You know what I
See,
mean?
I think I don't. I'm just gonna hypothetically say what I think that they would say. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they would say something like, "You don't get into the state. That you just are the state, and the state
Yep.
ebbs and flows, and it rises and it dips, but you either are participating in the flow of it, or you're uh actively working to um not acknowledge its existence. Keep
Love it.
yourself ignorant."
It's always that metaphor where we look for a hard answer. It's like, give me the answer, and they're like, the answer is you. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, like, how do I achieve enlightenment? Like, okay, like, pour me a cup of tea. All right,
Right.
now go walk in the woods. And
Exactly.
they're like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Yeah.
100%. And that kind of is it. That is the essence of it. You're in it already. They're trying to tell you, this is it. You've arrived. We're always looking to arrive at another place, another time, another person, but we're in it right now. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the Maya, the illusion around us that tries to trick us into thinking we aren't, and we fall for it because we're animals. You know what I mean? I think people think that because we're human, we can outsmart everything, but the animal outsmarts us all the time. Just our instincts, our drives, hunger, all these animalistic things rule us, and we try to break out of it. We're like, no, I'm using my will to not do. I'm hungry, but I'm not going to eat till I finish this work. So let me go for 3 more hours. Like, well, like, we can break through using willpower. But so many other times, it's just like, well, no, I actually do have to stop what I'm doing and serve this animal. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And I think that there's also a certain kind of joy that comes along with participating in duality, and like participating in the game, with all of its challenges and stresses and things like that. I think that, I don't know, it'd be interesting if you asked many, like, if you went around and you just asked people, you were like, here, would you like to be enlightened, or would you like to just stay in your life? And I think a lot of people would say, I'll just stay in my life because it's fucking sick. I get to, like, do all this cool shit, and I get to feel all of these, like, ups and downs and these emotions. When you're just like consistent and pleasant with everything, to me, I feel like, okay, that's a nice state to be in, but it's also kind of fun to, get worked up about something, or get involved in a skirmish, a verbal debate, of something, or to make fun of someone or something. I feel like that humor to me is, like, really, really important. That's why I like those, like, kind of, trickster Zen type guys that are like, how do you get enlightened? Like, just keep filling up my teacup, or,
Right.
these things that they say. I don't even really know, but
Right.
but just that kind of way of being just seems really, really appealing to me, because it's almost like paradoxical in nature. It's like you want this thing that you think that you have to go after in a serious way and do all of this serious work to achieve it, but it's actually right in front of you. So if you can, like, find the absurdity in that and, like, grapple with that and try and make that what you will, then you'll have what you're wanting to have.
100%. That is it. That, I
What do you
think,
think? That's it?
that's the concept of the middle way.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
the middle way. It's not give everything up, and it's not, get everything.
So is that the bodhisattva path? Is that the middle way? Who coined the term middle way? Is it Choyong Trungpa who coined that term, the middle way?
That's a great question. I can't recall at the moment, but I know that it comes from
Jamie, pull that up.
If you were to go, yeah, Jamie, come on. If you were to pull up on YouTube Buddhism documentary, there is a really wonderful piece there. And I've seen multiple. There's probably like two, actually. There's two really good, Buddha documentaries that exist. It's just the story of Buddha, Siddhartha, who he was, and how he came to the realization he came to. And it's very much the
there's a great one. Yeah, I just looked it up. It was like, I was like, who came up with that? They're like Buddha. There's a great documentary about Siddhartha. I think it's narrated by Richard Gere.
Okay.
I forget. I think it's called Siddhartha, or it's called the Buddha. I forget what it's called, but it's
really
cool. It's animation, and it's
that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Totally.
Richard Gere narrates it.
Yeah. In that documentary, they explore how he came to this, he had to go to the brink of death as being an ascetic and not eating and practicing like headstands all day and doing all this like crazy stuff to realize it wasn't the way. The way was the middle path. It was accepting what is and kind of finding the fine tuning in your life. So if you were to imagine a guitar string, if it's too loose, it's not making any sound. If it's too tight, it snaps and breaks and there's no sound. But right in the middle with that tuning, you can find beautiful music. You know what I mean?
Do you think that he would have been able to? Yes. Do you think that he would have been able to learn that if he didn't go through what he went through? I think he had to go through that to realize that it wasn't that, right?
That's true.
That's the only way you get to the realization.
Right. That's very true. That's very true. And I guess that's the power in the story is he did it for you so you don't have to if you trust what he's saying. You know what I mean? He did all of these feats so you can learn from, and all of humanity can take that and learn from. I do think people are still going to do it though.
Right. It's really funny though, because it's the Buddha, Jesus, all of these, figures who Muhammad, he like went in a cave, got a download. The guy that invented human design, I forgot what his name is. He like he went into his tent and he got this download, and and then they come out and they're like, guys, like I'm telling you, this is the shit right here. Just trust me. And like, just so many people are just like, fuck you and your shit, your enlightenment. And it's just like, okay, fine. I think I would be fine with it if people didn't want to listen and didn't want to partake in it. Where I think it's not so good is the active repression of the secret, of the, for example, psychedelics, been like actively demonized and repressed.
Right.
People like burned, called witches, fucking, all that kind of stuff.
It's crazy. It's because it really is that secret key, I think, when used the right way by the right person. I don't, I've said this a bunch. I don't think it works for everyone. Some people are just not going to get a spiritual experience no matter how much psychedelics they take. But for people that are ready,
real quick, McKenna, he said, why he I remember one of his talks, I was kind of surprised to hear him say this, but he's like, psychedelics just don't work on stupid people. like he's just like basically like, hey, look, if you're like a dumbass wook, like, like it's not gonna work for you. Like you're just gonna.
Yes, you have to take that information and process it for real. You can't just kind of not take it seriously. You have to take it. And that's the funny part is like when you take it seriously, now you're in the realm of the mystic and nothing can be quantified and the science isn't provable, but at the same time, mystics shaped this whole world. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's right. It's not that one's right or wrong. They're both right or they're both wrong. I guess just decide for yourself. You know,
Yeah.
I love it though. I really love the ideas brought up by psychedelics as to how to view life. And it's not this deterministic, scientific, everything that is here is visible. There's so much invisible happening around us at all times. And I think humans are just naive to think that if it was happening, we would see it. But it's not until your mind is open to seeing more stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That other
See with
stuff
your mind's
becomes
eye.
visible.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right. I could tell that I'm not an enlightened guru because I'm absolutely furious that this light is penetrating in my video screen. I'm so angry about it. It's just like it's making me. I'm fomenting with rage and fury. I'm gonna go storm the Capitol right now because of this light that's seeping in. I had to change. I had to rearrange like where my studio like set up here. I used to have it against this wall, but anyway, a little side note there. But it's just that's where my head was going like when you were talking, and I needed to call it out because I'm like, otherwise like I'm just not going to be listening and you're going to be like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, yeah. But then I'm actually just furious about the fact that there's light coming in to the frame here. And
100%. I'm a camera guy, so I
I'm like,
know what you mean.
you know, just
Absolutely.
How many times?
That's how I felt when we were starting because my computer wasn't cooperating.
Right. I was just going to say, like, how many times do you get yourself in a situation where something's going on and you can't, like, you're waiting to, like, interrupt or interject or leave, or you got to go somewhere and there's something that's just, like, burning in your brain that you're, like, totally not paying attention to what this person's saying because you're just thinking about something that someone said to you, like, 20 minutes ago, like you got off a phone call and you're all emotional, and then like you meet up with someone, they're like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, I'm doing good, what's going on? They're like, so let me talk to you about what I'm thinking about and they're like da, 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 da. And in your head you're just like, oh yeah, fucking that, you, oh yeah, you think that, well I'll show you, and you're like running a simulation of your next argument with this person or something.
That is funny. Yeah, humans get caught up in that. We think that is us. You know what I mean? That is just a mental freaking manifestation. You know, I was talking to my brother about this, how I think thoughts are just like these like bubbles that are auditioning for your for your time to give it. But if you can literally say no to a thought that's coming up. You can say, yep, shoot, go away. Like, no thanks. You know what I mean?
Swipe left.
Right. You could totally just not follow that. And a lot of times it might be very helpful to learn how to do that in today's world when everything seems to want to upset you. You know what I mean? It's like the news, the media, social media, like it's trying to get you unstable somehow or another. But we can hone our discipline through meditation, of spiritual practice, and many other forms to be able to stay more or less controlling the mind. You know what I mean? Because we're not going to control it at all times. It's going to, there's a spiritual metaphor that kind of says like the mind is like a restless elephant and you have to tame the elephant, and you can. And there's like even really beautiful artwork that shows the path of like an elephant walking up a hill and a guy behind it because the elephant's leading the way. But at a point, like they stop and rest, and they're able to then switch positions where the guy then leads the elephant. More or less, that's what we're trying to do with our mind when you're practicing meditation or spiritual practice, maybe even psychedelic journey work. We're trying to get ahead of that bustling thought train that seems to be what we think we are, and actually be here now as the consciousness, the observer, the just kind of window from infinity into this beautiful manifestation, this miracle world that we're just so privileged to be placed here now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you seem like you're always really consistent. Like you show up consistently as the Matt that I first met. You're still that guy. Like I feel like you always show up consistently. And I would assume it's probably because of your daily practices and all the stuff that you do. Would you say that that's true, or do you find yourself having like emotional swings, bouts of rage, things like that?
I guess
Depression.
I think possibly here and there depression, not rage, not a lot of emotional, what do you call them? Where it'll just take your day away. You know what I mean? I'm usually able to work myself out of a funk inside of 30 minutes or something if I get into one, and I do, but it's because I know these practices, I call to them. If I get stuck in a weird state, instantly I'm like, I know, let's go to the sauna, you know? And I sit in the sauna and I get out and I'm out of it. I'm fucking out of it. And it took a 30-minute investment, sweating my ass off and being super uncomfortable. But when you're busy doing that, you're not following that thought pattern. You're like, oh shit, whoa, you're getting dizzy and shit. Like I pushed it far a few times. We've done more than an hour in the sauna. And maybe that's not far compared to some athletes, but I mean, most people do 15,
No, that's a good amount of
minutes,
time. Yeah.
it gets tough and it really pushes you. But yeah, meditation, sauna, mantra. I do a lot of mental mantra. I call to mantras a lot, Hare Krishna. That's a new one to me. I've been enjoying it. And Sat
But wait,
Nam.
so how do you do that? Like,
You just start saying it in your mind.
and when
You
you
just start
feel
singing.
like you're in a little bit of like, give me an example of how you would use it.
So you're at like a stoplight, and instead of waiting for it to become green or thinking about all these random things, I'll just start singing mantra in my head. It's just like I hear I'm a vocalist, I'm a singer, so I pick up on lyrics quick. It might even be more so that than even these spiritual text deep dives. I just like the song, right? It's like I like these mantras as a song, and I think that's the musician in me just interpreting it more as a song than maybe what someone who read the mantra first in a book might think of the mantra as. But yeah, I'll just sing these songs, these mantras in my head that are known to increase good vibrations, bring you positivity, peace, tranquility,
Riches.
sometimes riches. You know what I mean? I just feel like things that you want are attracted to you if you're in a good place yourself. And it's not even about going after riches. It's riches will come if you follow this path that's being put before you.
Yeah,
It's a byproduct.
Thanks for sharing that. That was awesome. I really like that. Like you're sitting at a traffic light, you're waiting, maybe you have some thoughts racing, so you go into like a Hare Krishna, or however you sing it. I'm
Totally.
thinking of Krishna Das. I think he has a song that goes Hare Krishna, and it like keeps going like faster and faster and more people.
That's it. It's just a tool to call to, so that what are you going to stay in that negative complaining headspace for the next 30 minutes or worse, hours or the whole day? You can break it up. You were breaking up the thought pattern by inserting the will and having this mantra, this song coming through our brain instead, and just immerse yourself in that. And if you want, actually visibly say it too. You can be in your car and sing it, and
totally
singing it is known to open, if you're a believer a believer in things like chakras. It opens and balances the throat chakra. If you don't really subscribe to that, you just think of it as unlocking certain hormones in you and allowing things to change your neurochemistry to the point that you're more chill.
Yeah. I like to do Om, so I'll Om sometimes.
100%.
Chanting meditation is great. Like, I just feel like it's so easy to drop into this trance like state from a chanting meditation, and then I'm just floating in the astral plane and chanting, and then boom, I come back in my body, and like I open my eyes and I'm like, oh man, that was awesome. I'm ready to get my day started.
100%. And also, it's the medicines. I think I do credit magic mushrooms for helping lift the depression that I was in prior to using them. I credit cannabis for keeping me creative and engaged with a project after I'm worn out, because you can use cannabis as a creative tool, and a ton of people do, where you've edited this song to shit and you're sick of hearing it. You can step out, smoke a joint, come back, hear it, and it's new again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like you're able to then work on it more because you are more inspired by it by hearing it anew in a different state of mind. And also the mental fatigue can kind of leave because it's a stimulant. You know what I mean? I think cannabis is known to be kind of a weird one. You can't tell whether it's a stimulant or a depressant. It's different things at different times. But if you use it to the point that it gives you that zing because of your tolerance level, or being able to go a day without it to reset, or however many days, you know what I mean? As long as you're not smoking all day, every day, it stops to lose that zing. If you can keep your relationship with it such that you feel the cannabis instead of it just being your default, which I've been there too, and I know people that are in that now.
Yeah.
It is a stimulant. Like when you go smoke, you come back and you're like, whoa, these things are fucking whoa. You know what I mean? You're hype. You know what I mean? So
oh yeah, definitely.
I think that is another,
it's good sativa.
The medicines definitely help me, I think, stabilize and stay on the path to the things I want to do.
Yeah, so you have the knowledge, and we both do have the knowledge and information of lots of different kinds of tools in our toolkit, and it's like, oh shit, I'm feeling like yesterday I was supposed to go to this gym. This guy invited me to try out a gym, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll go work out at the gym. I haven't been to the gym in a while. I just said gym like 7 times. Now I'm saying it again, gym. But I started putting my stuff on, my gear, and then I was like, you know what? If I just want to go for a fucking run outside, like my body was like, this is what we need. Let's go outside and go for a run. And I'm so glad that I listened to it, because I went out and I went for a run, and it was just beautiful at sunset in Colorado, and like mountains in the background and the purple and orange colors. And I was just like, this is great. And like the cold winter air, it just felt so good. The ground, there's a lot of people outside too. So it was really, really cool. That was exactly what I needed. And it's like, perfect. Okay, cool. Like that's what I needed. Maybe I'll need a little rape. Maybe I need a little breathing exercise. Maybe I need a cold shower. Maybe I need a sauna, whatever it is. Maybe I need a microdose. Maybe I need a little cannabis. Maybe I need some CBD.
Right.
Right. We can go on the whole list here.
It's funny because
people listening and making that choice for yourself. Yeah.
Right. And then people will also look at these medicines as a vice or something. Like, oh, well, it took that hape or that cannabis for you to do this thing. But instead of asking these medicines, these plants for their help, you would rather stay in a funk for days, months, and years. That's the trade-off. You know what I mean?
I think that some people, and myself included, if I think about it sometimes, I think we get familiar and comfortable with a certain way of experiencing life. And we cast ourselves in these roles, in these stories, so that when things aren't going our way, then we can be like, oh, the drama, oh, the awfulness of it all, Emma, and just let me just be the victim. It's just so much easier. Just let me be can I please play the victim this time? I've been playing the hero for 320 days now. I'm in this body all the time, in this consciousness all the time. Just let me be the fucking victim. Just let me put a fucking buffalo helmet on and run in, like let me just play a different role. Let me get involved in something that's just far out and crazy, or let me just get stuck in this drama. Cause it's like, I think it's just that's why we like stories. People love stories about, murder mysteries and thrillers and suspense and like a good story. And what better story than the one that you cast yourself in, and it's like, well, fuck, like, you don't have to play the victim all the time. You don't have to. You have choices. But I think we're just familiar, and I think there's parts of us that just feel good sometimes when we're like, oh, it's poor me. Like, it's all, like, please, everyone, help me. Pray for me. Please. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Right?
I know. 100%.
Woe is me. Yeah. So there's a part of us that likes that. There's a part of us all, I think, that likes that,
Yep. It's just the lineage that came before that way of thinking. It's like, well, my mom and dad think that way, and my friends think that way, so I have to think that way. But
yeah,
if you are exposed to the right information and you have the courage to act on it and change your life for you and the betterment of you and yourself, not thinking that way will lead to greater results with, your life or whatever you want.
Yeah, so it's like that choose your own adventure book, and you can turn the page to go to the cave on page 21, which is like your same old victim story or whatever story you're casting yourself in. Unworthiness or whatever it is. And then it's like, no, or you can go to page 55 and, explore the sky mountain or something. And you're just like, okay, let me choose
why
that
not?
one.
Yeah. And why not? This is our one life that we know of. So it's like, I don't just want to play it safe and play the victim. I like to go and follow the hero's journey.
Yeah, the hero's journey is fun.
Yeah, it is. And it doesn't get stale. It just keeps fractaling. You know what I mean? It just keeps like opening up more and more opportunities, adventures, relationships, fun events, like it just keeps going.
I like how you went like this. You just spiral.
It does. It does.
I remember seeing the this thing that Carl Jung talked about called the circumambulation. It's like when you're shooting after your dreams, your goals, your North Star, it's not this like linear straight path. It's this circular one. So in that circular motion, it's like, okay, here's the hero's journey, and then it circles down. There's another hero's journey. That hero's journey opens up into another hero's journey. It's like all the while you're trying to get here, but you're just spiraling up and down all around into these many, many hero's journeys to finally get to, where you want to get to. And then who knows what happens at that point. That's exciting because you've gone through all this stuff. My girlfriend and I watched this movie that maybe I typically wouldn't have watched. It was with Robert Redford and Jane Fonda. They're both like 85 years old. And the movie was called Our Souls at Night. And it was just like a cute movie about like these old people that their significant others have passed, their kids have moved on, and they're just in their homes alone. And she just wants to like sleep with him at night. Like she's like, I don't have no one in the house. I just want to like, have this big bed. Just like, I just want to like, and then it turns into a romance. But the cool thing about it was that it's like, I typically don't watch things about people in their 80s or whatever. But the cool thing about it was that they live this massive life and families and all these experiences. and then there's still something more at the end. Like there's still something more always, but you could still
100%.
reflect on this. It's like it's a completely new. It's like once you've achieved everything that you've wanted to achieve, and you're like in your 80s or whatever, however, 70s, 80s. What's the next journey? What's the next experience?
100%. That really brings up something in me about this kind of very long-term plan that I have, which, most people usually plan for like the next couple of days or months or maybe a year. But in the psychedelic space, you get such a different understanding of what it is to be mortal that you can even think about what you would want to do when you're 70 or 80 years old. And for me, I am a certified yoga teacher, but I'm currently not really teaching, not really practicing it other than in private circles and with my best friends and stuff. Because I'm also chasing this whole, building Timewheel and as a media brand. And then, of course, our other company, Sheath. And I don't really have time to teach either. And not that I even cared about the money, but it doesn't really pay either to be a yoga teacher, at least not in San Antonio. They're my trial and error. So anyway, I have this like long-term idea of when I'm old and I have done all the other things that I want to do is when I can really jumpstart that teaching yoga career. You know what I mean? Because that's a good time to. And I've always got the best yoga lessons from guys that were that old, like they're very old and wise and they've been through a lot and they know how to give good advice. And if they can do these crazy feats and postures, then I can do it because I'm young or whatever. So it's like, I just really think that older people are able to transmit yoga teaching better. And also they feel genuine in the having lived a lot more and experienced a lot more. It's kind of hard to take advice from a hippie kid with long hair, right? Like about getting enlightenment, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. Yeah. I remember I was listening to Chris Ryan's podcast one day and he was like, yeah, I went to this yoga class and he's like, can we stop with like the 21-year-old yoga girls that just got like back from India and think that they're enlightened and they're going to tell me about life? Can we just do yoga, please?
Exactly. Like... That's exactly what I'm saying. As someone who's lived so much less life than you, trying to tell you how to be, it just doesn't translate anyway. So just teach the yoga.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. And then I also think that it's also not necessarily about age, because I think it's about amount of experiences, because there are a lot of old people that are not,
sure. If they never left their hometown.
If age, inherently gave way to wisdom, then we would just have these like wise, sage old people walking around, but they're just as screwed and trapped as we were and everyone else is. It's like, you got to break out of the matrix. You got to make the choice to take the red pill, even though now that has so many like connotations to it. When you say that, people are like, oh, are you like a Trump person now? And it's like, man, I hate how all that shit got like hijacked,
Yeah.
But
I know. And how other people think that they can label you by that when you might have zero interest in politics at all. And they're going to say, you're a Trump supporter. It's like, do you know who you're talking to? Like,
yeah, well, because that's been hijacked, and
like, I don't care about
they say like the red pill, but it's like, really, I mean, it's just one of the best analogies from a movie that I really like. So screw you, people.
That is too funny. Well, it's been happening the whole life of this country. So this is nothing new. It's just in our faces more than ever. But we put our noses there. It's like we sniff it out. You know what I mean? By getting on social and looking for the latest. So you want the latest? All right, here it is.
Yeah.
And it sucks,
I think it would be really, really useful for myself and whoever else would be interested to really go on a retreat, just like to just go away for like 4 months, completely disconnected, no phone, no access to anything in the world and just like meditate all day and exercise and chop wood, carry water, make tea, eat like rice and fish, drink plants, eat mushrooms. I mean, that I think could be like just so majorly beneficial to just completely like, I think that's, I don't know, man. I'm just having this thought right now. Like, I would love to do that. I would love to do that. But would I really do it? Would I would get there and like, but after the first like couple weeks, I would be like, man, this is fucking cool. And then I would be like, oh, but what's going on in the world? I got to know. There's I'm missing out. I'm missing out on life.
Right. Because we will still carry all the memories of the things that were here. If we were to leave America and go sit in the Himalayan mountains, a lot of our days would be pondering the life that we were at before, I feel like. So you're almost wondering what happened to those timelines, those storylines, those people, those things that could have played out, right? If I had stayed back in my old life. I'm sure that's a large amount of what people think about there. I'm sure they're focused on surviving and also, meditating and reaching that higher awareness. But a lot of it's probably just kind of dwelling on the past too. I mean, you can't really escape it. You can get better at honing your attention to be in the present, but from time to time, you're not going to be able to help or like having a fond memory,
Yeah, memories. It's just it's amazing. I feel like we're living in this time right now where people want instant memories. Like where like everything is an instant memory, instant nostalgia. It's like, oh my God, remember what we were doing last week? It was so amazing. I want to be doing that again right now. And it's just like I don't know, one thing stacked upon the next. There's something here that I'm searching for, which is like this collection of videos that we're making, podcasts that we're making, art that we're making, selfies, photos, TikToks, Snapchats, Instagrams, posts. Like, it's all being created as this like massive collective memory, this mess of a memory. I oftentimes wonder like, oh, this is like a beautiful sunset that I'm experiencing right now. And I'm like, I'm just going to soak it in and I'm going to experience it rather than try and like get the perfect shot or capture it on my phone. But I mean, I think there's a balance in between that too, but it's almost like sometimes I'm like, why am I taking this picture? Like sometimes I don't post, like it's not like I'm posting it all the time. There's something about capturing, seeing something beautiful, spectacular, and then going, ooh, I'm going to like hang on to that for later, but like for when later?
Yeah. It's a weird one because there's definitely, again, the middle way with that concept, I think, because certainly the first time I went to a concert, like I think it was probably Tool, and we got like pretty decent seats. I noticed because I was in such awe, I wanted to record it. I was like literally watching the concert through my phone. And then I was like later on, like it was cool to have that. But then I was like, I missed that experience though. Like I really wasn't there. It was like I was watching on YouTube while being there or something. And I'd never really watched it again. But at the same time, I think a quick photo and then putting it away and then being present is way better than the people that will record a whole song or set on, you know what I mean? It's like I think that band even says, don't bring don't film, don't bring cameras, all that, because they don't want you to miss it. They want you to be present. And that was a lot of what they're offering. I think bands offer a lot more than just the music itself. It's like a ceremony when they're on stage.
I miss it so much. I miss, I was walking in the park with my friend the other day here in Denver, and there was like this cool band that was socially distanced apart, 2 saxophone players, 2 drummers, 2 guitarists, 2 keyboardists, and they were just jamming in the park, like riffing with each other. One sax would go, and then the other one would riff on what they just played, and same thing with the drums. It was cool, and we stood by, and I was like dancing a little bit, like kind of just, shaking and grooving. I'm just like, fuck,
Mhm.
I miss like being in live life with people, shoulder to shoulder with strangers,
Right.
maybe even like, just sweaty and just a mess, and listening
Right.
to music and just feeling it. It's like, man, that is an integral part of being a human being. That is not
Yeah.
like a luxury,
Right.
for us to. And I get this like feeling, man, of just like, I don't know, with the masks and the social distance stuff. And I just get this like eerie feeling of like, man, are we ever going to be able to like do this again? Like, I want to be able
Mhm.
to do this. Like, is this gonna,
Right.
we're gonna have concerts again? Are we gonna go to packed stadiums? Like, I want to do it. I want to keep
Right.
doing that.
Yeah, me and my brother talked about this, and I think what the answer I came up with is it's going to be doable, but you will have to pass a health screening before you come in.
Mm.
So they're going to have to check your thermometer, you know what I mean? Like check your temperature, maybe get a quick swab from your cheek, and then you can come in,
Damn.
or whatever it is. I think that's what it's going to be. Like that's what I'm anticipating is it's just going to be you got to be healthy to come in here. And the reason people um in the past even came because they might have had a cold or the flu and they came to a concert and accidentally got a bunch of people sick was because they had paid that ticket and they were going to come and enjoy it. And even though they, like shouldn't go because they're sick and they're going to infect people, well, in the future, you're going to be found out before you, and you're not even going to want to go. You're going to be like, dude, I'm sick. I literally can't go. They're not going to let me in. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So somehow they're going to be able to detect whether or not you have an illness before you're able to enter a place like that. But I think we'll be able to get back to that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just it kind of bums me out, but it's just like that's the kind of world that we need to have because of the amount of people that we have now and how connected
Mm-hmm.
we want to be and how big everything is. It used to be where you just like it was your local community and you like knew everybody and people didn't travel as often, and it was just kind of like, okay, way back in the day, and and it was like, okay, well, I trust this person. If they're like not feeling well, then they're not gonna like be a dick and like come, like there was more
Mm-hmm.
of a respect because you knew people and it was like a tighter knit kind of thing.
Right.
But now we live in this massive global world, so it's like we kind of need these things, I guess, because you're going into places where there's like 40,000 people or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I miss it too. I did feel luckily, and I will thank, these medicines for helping me learn how to be present with things much more so than I was before having used them. That I was appreciating the music scene before it went down. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because I was really like enjoying it thoroughly when I would go
me
to these
too.
events.
Yeah.
I know some people don't. They just kind of go smoke a cigarette in the back and don't even watch the band.
Oh
Right?
my
They're just
God.
like they're just at the event. They're just like, yeah, someone's here. I know, so I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette and yeah, I'll be out here. Y'all go enjoy. But I was in the front row, like, yeah, So
Yeah, dude, me too. I mean, ever since I moved to Denver, I've been really enjoying the music scene here. It's like
Mhm.
really, really good. Um and it's so fun to go to shows and be in the front row and be
Yeah,
dancing and be watching and be involved and like be totally present. I was really into it. There's and the festivals as well. The
yeah.
festivals. That's probably my favorite thing to do is go to festivals. Not my favorite thing to do so much so where I don't do anything else but go to festivals because that's not what I'm doing. But
Mhm.
it's one of my most favorite activities.
Dude, we should do one when they come back. That would be
Yeah,
fun.
100%. Yeah,
That would be
totally.
fun.
Yeah, I want to go to Shambhala.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I think it's in British Columbia, Canada.
Wonderful. Isn't that Shambhala? Isn't that a magical city that appears in the mountains?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche's book is called Shambhala. I read it when I was at the temple in Peru, and
Mhm.
Yeah, he talks about it's this magical, mystical city, but it's sort of like the ethos and the morals and the energy of the city that
Mhm.
the citizens of the city carry with them. There's a few things that I remember from that book, Shambhala. I remember him using the phrase the great Eastern sun a lot.
Mm.
Like only the warrior can make a proper cup of tea only when his gaze is fixed upon the great Eastern sun. Like the
Mm.
Eastern sun is always rising, is always replenishing, always coming up and nourishing, shining that light, after the long period of darkness, the Eastern sun.
Mhm.
So Shambhala, the warrior, there's a Shambhala center here in Denver or in Colorado, and
That's awesome.
yeah, and then it's a music festival. Yeah.
Beautiful. I've been really attracted to these ideas for a long time. I don't I won't say that I know that they're true or anything like that, obviously, but these ideas about higher dimensional landscapes that exist here on Earth. So in there's this whole idea of the Vedic cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Vedic cosmos, like it is honestly the trippiest, craziest looking Jamie, if you want to pull it up, freaking worldview I've ever seen, where it's like the earth is a giant disc. It's almost like flat earth or something, but there's like this like gigantic pyramid that comes like flying out of the earth that the highest like enlightened beings live on and stuff. Just look up like Vedic cosmos images. And
Whoa.
I'm trying to, yeah, let me look real quick too.
Hmm.
Vedic.
The Vedic universe. Yeah. One universe.
The Vedic universe. I'll look at that.
I mean, they that's the thing, is that there's so many of these older religions and societies and cultures that just knew a lot of stuff, a lot of really interesting
Mhm.
stuff. And I think it's again, it's like it's up to us to have to dig into it, because it's not necessarily offered up, right? Like you don't go to school and they're like, all right, well, you can learn Vedic stuff, or you can learn Buddhist stuff, or you can learn this stuff, or what about like the ancient Egyptians, or the
Right.
Mayans or the Aztecs. It's just like, what, it's more narrowed down, and so you have to look for this stuff. But I don't know, man, like, we should be clearly taking a lot from these things, and because they knew, if they've stood this test of time, that means they knew. They
Yeah,
did.
and it's on a different plane. They're not saying that the earth is like this. Did you see this one I sent in here? I sent one that was like really interesting.
Oh, cool.
So that Brahma Loka at the very top, like that pedal, is
Hmm.
like, where it all started. And then down there at the bottom, that's the earth. And then that red thing coming up out of it is like this gigantic pillar mountain that the ascetics will live on. It's just like it's really heady stuff, but it's so highly detailed. And it's like they literally spent years getting this right, just in the way that science has shown the map of the planet. You know what I mean? They spent
Yeah, yeah.
years working and refining this map of what they think reality is. And I'm not claiming that if you see this, that the earth itself is this. It's just a certain plane. It's a map of
What are these
another
things?
plane.
Map of another plane. Yeah, it says like 120 million
Yeah.
yojanas.
Right.
Like, dude, I'm 80 million yojanas away from ascending to the Maharaloka level.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I
It's
mean, but
all
you find this kind of thing in like in so many cultures around the world. That's why I love Campbell so much, is because of his investigation into the similarities in
right.
the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Hindus, the Mayas, all of these cultures. But because I think it is all coming out of the expression of us to define our human experience and the sort of how we relate to the world and how the world provides that information back to us, how we interpret it, how we see it, how we project onto it. And it's like, for those people in that time, like this was the thing that was really slapping, you know, as the kids
100%.
say. This was
And
the
it's an
thing that was kicking.
interesting, right. It's an interesting idea how they lived their whole life and died thinking it was this way. The way the map looked like this. That was their whole world. Like they didn't know any different.
And it's like, cool. Like,
right.
cool.
There's no,
like,
and that's the many-sided prism that is reality, that there isn't just this one reality.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look at it from a different side, and
that's a very
it's completely different.
boring way to look at life. You know, that's like this, the image that comes up is this like angry, you know, like patriarchal black and white male from like the 1950s with a suit and a hat and a briefcase. It's like, this is the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't like it, go to China or something like that. It's like, okay, well, we clearly live, you know, we're living in a time right now where I think collectively as a conscious species on this planet, as sentient beings that are manifesting in their internal, you know, experience onto the external world,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting to a point where it's like we're like, you know, throwing our toys around or whatever, you know, we're just kind of like bored. We're like, yeah, whatever. Oh, cool. 3D. Like I have an Oculus VR headset. I rarely play it. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, oh, that was kind of cool. Like whatever. I'm always on like, give me the next thing. I just got the iPad. Like I've been doodling on here, and I'm doodling on the iPad. And it's fun, but it's also kind of like, even in the three-dimensional world, like what happened with at the Capitol, I'm not like, oh my God, like I can't believe it. Like my mind is blown. Like I can't accept reality the way it's just like, I'm not really, there's this part of me that is, and I feel that this is also exemplary of our civilization where we are with our consciousness collectively as people, because I think we're going through this like, you know, adolescent stage, you know, we're like collectively mature, like the hero's journey, it's all this circle that we're going in. And we're back at the point in time where we're a bunch of spoiled brats and angsty teenagers. And, you know, we're trying to get to the next level. We're going to get there, but it's fucking messy. It's going to be messy. It's going to be really messy.
I know. Wow.
But have fun in the mess.
Right. Well, I feel like we're gonna get there. Let's just stay hopeful, and I don't know. That's all we can do, you know. Just find the many victories in every day and make the most of our time here with each other, because it's a gift, you know. I believe it.
Yeah. No, I believe that too. And it's like when I believe it more, and it becomes more true when I'm around people that are truly in that frequency, like you're in, you know, and it's like, that's why we need each other. It's like, we can't do this shit alone. No one built and created their like, experience solely by themselves. That would be like insane. Right. You know, even the most huckstery con men had to convince and persuade people to help him or her. But like the reality that we want to create becomes more creatable, more true, more present, more accessible when we're around other people that have those portals opened up, and we're all just like open portals, just like, cool, like let's just do that, let's just do this.
Love it.
It's like, yeah, great, yeah, let's just be with it.
Absolutely. Cool. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's the law of attraction.
Yeah.
It's just what you think about, you bring about. And I know that the movie and the series, the book and everything gets kind of a weird rap sometimes with The Secret. But I think just pull from it what's useful. You don't have to buy the whole thing. You don't have to believe in everything that the documentary says.
You mean I don't have to
But
attach to the whole totality of it and declare it to be my identity out loud,
right,
and then write things on Instagram like you will manifest riches, tap to make this happen.
right, exactly. That's exactly. So just pull from it what makes sense. And to me, what made sense is what you think about, you bring about. And it tends to draw in experiences, events, people, opportunities, everything, if you just trust that and keep on the path of putting energy towards that. And so far, I have done a lot of the things I set out to do, and I love it. And it's been great. And I'm honestly in shock and disbelief at the way things have gone down for me, because I really had no idea what could have come, when I was just a bag boy at HEB, the the grocery store chain here, just like hoping someday I make music that's dope, or that I work with dope people, like, and just sitting there bagging groceries, and that was it. You know what I mean? Just like what the things I've done now that are in my portfolio, my resume, however you want to say it, I'm just like, what happened? I cannot believe all these projects. Jesus. It's like all I did was take it seriously about what you think about, you bring about. You know what I mean? It's crazy, right?
Yeah. Expand on that a little bit more, because I think I understand what you're saying. Maybe for some, the people listening there, like expand on that process where, because I think maybe a misconception could be, okay, I gotta think about this all the time. Like I want this thing. I want this thing. I want this thing. What does it look like? How does it unfold for you? What's the energy feel like of it? Like, what is like, how do you go through the motions and manifest and show up in the way that you want to create what you want to create?
Yeah, I think it's being inspired by things, just like, I'm a fan of art, music, visuals, film. When I see a thing that it inspires me. So like with that inspiration and the idea that what you want, if you think about it and bring it about in your life through the process of course, pondering it, but then taking action, slowly but surely things start manifesting. It's also called like synchronicity, perhaps. And it's a synchronicity seems to show up when you take kind of a leap of faith and you get an affirmation. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this leap and buy this $2,000 synthesizer or whatever. Not that you even need that to make good music these days, but I'm just saying, like, it's an example of something I did before where that was like all the money I had, and I was like, but music is the thing I want to do, and I know if I get this synth, it's gonna inspire me enough to push that forward. So it's investment in yourself, as well. That was an investment in me and myself and my career to do that.
And then did like someone call, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Did it do
Oh
it to
no,
the
go
point?
ahead.
I was gonna say, did someone then reach out to you and be like, "Yo, you want to like DJ this like place or something?" Like, was there a synchronistic thing that happened from you deciding to make that purchase?
Absolutely.
And practice every day.
Absolutely, it does. I mean, obviously, you're inspired by the instrument itself, but at the same time, that instrument can bring so many creative energies into your whirlpool, because it's like, just looking at it so dope. I just want to touch it. I just want to play it. And then other people be in the studio and they're like, whoa, like touch and play that shit. And then all of a sudden we're collaborating and we're manifesting. And it's like, we just made a whole album. It's like, whoa, like, because I took this leap of faith, synchronicities lined up enough to that to me, it was undeniable that this is the direction to go. Like, this is the thing to do. And the same thing with Timewheel. It was just like a natural unfolding, because as a band and a musician and a producer, you mix with a lot of other of those type of people, just like being in, the shows, the industry, whatever you want to call it. And then all of a sudden we've got like 10 solid friends who all make dope music. So let's just band together and create this label. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just follow
Everything
those
just falls
synchronicities.
into, yeah, you follow the pieces,
Hmm.
follow the breadcrumb trail back to where you want to go to. Yeah.
Right. And it was music that inspired me. And um, I just knew, through my psychedelic near death experience, which is kind of almost how I view it, that if my life had ended then, what would I have wanted to do more of and use my time on this earth to do? It is to manifest, share, and support music. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It was like that's what I would have wanted to do on earth if I could have just stayed. And I stayed. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm alive, it's a rebirth. Um let's do the thing I really want to do, you know, and stop spending time on other stuff that was the safe way or the backup or plan, like it was like plan C to do music. And now we're shifting that from C to A. It's like, okay, go that direction, manifest that, um, invest in yourself, invest in your career. There's a funny idea of a lot of musicians feel like someone's just going to magically hear their music and give them $1 million. Like, dude, until that happens, you have to do it. You have to invest in your career. You know what I mean? Or you might not get to the place to where that person hears it and your product is so shiny and polished and dope because of your investment that then wants to reach out and say, here's the $1 million record deal. Finally, it takes you first doing these other steps. A lot of people want to get all the way to the top of the stairs from day one. It's like,
Yeah.
you
Just
know what
make
I
that
mean?
giant leap. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that
That
might
doesn't really
happen. It might
sometimes, but
happen
very,
very
very
rarely.
rare.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like 1 in a million. So why not place the chips in your favor and invest with your time, your resources to further your career and whatever it could be, like podcasting, music, art, like your company, your product, your pitch, whatever it is. Like the more chips you place into that and energy you put into that, the more is going to attract positive results as long as it's a heartfelt mission and it has a really good intention. You don't want to be doing this with negative intention shit. You know what I mean? You want, and it probably wouldn't even work. You know what I mean? Because you don't believe it. It's like, it's not inspiring to your soul, your heart. So you have to really identify with the mission and love it and have it in your heart. And then continuously hone it and just work even 30 minutes a day on it. Like if some people might have other jobs and families and things, they don't get that much time to be with their entrepreneurial effort, but even 30 minutes a day will add up. That's a lot of time if you look at it over a week. And
Right.
instead of nothing, at least invest a 30 minutes of personal work into your brand.
Yeah.
Just set an alarm on, just set an alarm. Like it says it's like 11 a.m. Boom. The alarm's on. Oh, I got to do my 30 minutes. Just do it.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about the near death experience. Did you, I
Mhm.
don't know if you told that story on the podcast before, or did you, or I forget.
Probably on mine, but yeah, let me think back and kind of gain my thoughts around it all. Because there was a few of them and they lead to each other in very interesting, weird ways. But I guess I'll say the first most powerful experience was me and some bandmates ate 3.5 grams of mushrooms that were like hydro, beautiful, fat, stemmed, bruised blue, all the like craziest, like next level descriptors. And I
Mhm.
had no idea how good they were. And you really only needed like a G of these. When we ate 3.5 and oh wow, it was next level. It was almost like I went to an alien world.
Yeah.
um And a few of us were having like the craziest feeling, like time had stopped or we were dead, or like something changed like dramatically to the point we felt completely different. um yeah, it was almost like you die and you're in some spirit form after. And I think we were feeding off each other too. You know how in journeys, like other people's energies are pretty dramatic
Mm-hmm.
and apparent. And some of my friends were, bringing these ideas up, like, dude, I think time stopped, right? And it's like, because he said it happened. And then we were in this like one moment for like infinity. It was crazy. It was just like extremely powerful. Um, and really, it was like we didn't even come back for like 2 or 3 weeks. Even though we were able to function, we were able to eat and use the bathroom, brush our teeth, like do all the things so that on the outside it appeared we were fine. But we all collectively were in this joined mind space, like up in outer space or something, bro, for like 2 or 3 weeks. And from that, I was just like, what is happening? I have no idea this is possible. So I start studying. I remember I came home and I just typed in, because I didn't even know what this was. I said, what is spirituality? Because like I had no idea even what spirituality was, but I was getting this massive sense that we were
How
in
old
some
were you?
spirit realm. I was gonna say I'm probably 19 or 20. And
Wow.
I knew what spirituality was. I had no interest in it, but like I didn't know what the descriptive things were, but I knew I was touching on something of the spiritual. And I was like, yeah, looking that up. And then it pretty much went down a massive rabbit hole, YouTube videos, Wikipedias, everything under the sun as to what can happen from psychedelics, what mysticism and spirituality is. And that was like the rebirth process of what it was to be me on earth.
Mm.
And in that experience, of course, I was shedding so much of what I thought I was to be, and reconfigurating who I want to be. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And who I definitely wanted to be was a musician, someone who offered music to the world and use that to recount my experiences with psychedelics and even with emotions and general things. And that's our project, Something Fiction, where it's this kind of like psychedelic voyage into our minds from the experiences, really crazy deep experiences we had, kind of being psychonauts.
Yeah, it's amazing because I love the Nikola Tesla quote where he says, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like music is top of the charts. You
Yeah.
know, when I hear something that it just like touches me in a particular way, it makes me move in a particular way, it makes me feel in a very particular way, something that I haven't felt before or experienced before. That's a transcendent experience, when you're
Yeah.
like, oh damn, like that note, that chord, that
Yeah.
this tone, this rhythm, this soundscape.
Yeah.
um
Yep.
it's
And when you understand music as a synesthetic experience, which psychedelics allow you to do as well, it's even more immersive, because now you're not just hearing it, you're feeling it. And I don't even
mhm.
just mean feeling the bass, because I know that's a physical sensation you can have completely sober. I feel the bass, but I mean you feel the music, meaning it's working through you.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
scanning through your being, and you are experiencing magic almost.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
music on psychedelics is pretty damn close to magic in my book.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's funny because while I'm listening to this audio book, The Silmarillion, J.R. Tolkien's book, they talk about Aru Iluvatar, who is the one, the creator, and he sang a song into being, and that song created I believe it was the Valar or the Maiar, I forget, one of those. And those were like, he like replicated himself basically with song to bring more like deity beings into existence. And they would sing songs, and then they sang a song that was so great they all sang together, and it brought Middle Earth, the Tolkien world, into existence.
Yep.
And it's just amazing how they and then Morgoth, the evil one, sang his own like different song, and that created like the darkness and all that stuff. And it's funny because I experienced that in an ayahuasca ceremony. It was fucking epic. I experienced that sort of story play out, not with those characters, not with the Tolkien characters, but it's just so cool that he tapped into that. So what we were talking about before, I mean, he must have been tapped in on some level, mushrooms or cannabis, or just having that, just having that naturally, right? Like Salvador Dali says, I don't do drugs, I am drugs. Like he's just like always tapped in. But it's that song, the songs, man, the harmony, the vibration, the frequency that animates things into existence and life, into sentience.
Right. Yeah, they're undeniable. Cool. It affects almost everyone. You know what I mean? Like scientifically proven, probably, if you were to hear this type of vibe, you're going to feel nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This other vibe's gonna feel a little not so nice, it's like there's a science to music. Even it's crazy.
And you can tell when you're on mushrooms, especially, that if a song comes on that you're not feeling in that moment, then it's just like, oh no, get that off, like get it out of here, now.
It's like I cast like, this is away. This is a big deal. It's a
huge deal. It's like
a weird song comes on, you're not ready for it. No.
I think making music on psychedelics has to be fantastic.
It's fun.
I want to try.
It's
just messing
funny
around
because
with my keyboard.
To me it's actually really fun, but it's more of a
iPad
performance,
keyboard, not real keyboard.
That's real these days.
I guess so.
It's really fun, but more as a performance jam sesh, I think. If you have this expectation of you're rolling and you're recording and stuff, I mean, unless you're just like, you don't give a shit, sometimes that can take you out of it a little on psychedelics. Like I'm someone too that I feel a little adverse to like wanting to film my trip. I don't know why. I just feel like some part of the camera there would make me want to, I don't know, perform for it, or like, you know what I mean? Like not really just like let it go and enter.
You just want to be
worry how
totally
I look on camera or whatever.
In the moment. You just want to be completely in the moment, absorbed in the moment, and just feeling out what you want to feel out and making what you want to make.
Right. And it's not even about recording it and sharing it. It's even just recording it at all. The fact that I know it's being recorded, period. I don't know. I just like to turn the recording off and with the psychedelic music making, and just not have any expectation that anything is gonna crazy come of it. And I usually, when I do create after an experience, and if I do play during an experience, it's mostly just like performing, like for fun, like just entering the musical vibe. I don't typically want any expectation of I'm producing a track right now, because it's just a different experience, and your mind doesn't work in such sequential like ways as it does when you're producing without a psychedelic being in your system. You're able to hear the parts a little more distinctly, and the beginnings and the ends. This is like you're just in flow with what is. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. I think it was Hemingway that said, "Write drunk, edit sober."
100%. That's funny.
So yeah, right.
But I'm also saying even write it, but then record it sober too. Like you can write it.
Record. Yeah.
But record and edit. You know what I mean? More like that, sober. But.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Cool, man.
Woo.
This is the podcast. That's it. There you go. What else? I wish I had like a gimmick or something that I do at the end, of the podcast, but I don't have that. It's just like, I guess it's time to go, and I'll talk to you later, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
What want to like talk about some stuff that you're working on, or like send direct people to places and things?
Yeah. So yeah, guys, check us out at timewheel.net. That's where all of our
Timewheel.net. This is the part of this is the part of the show where I repeat. So this is my new gimmick. So you're gonna say things, and then I'm gonna repeat them in whatever voice I choose to repeat it in. So this is the new segment for the ending of the show. Ready? All right.
All right.
Yeah, where can people find you, Matt?
Timewheel.net.
Timewheel.net.
And check out my brother's great company, sheathunderwear.com.
Hey, go to sheathunderwear.com. They got all kinds of underwear, moisture wicking fabric, separates your man parts. Put in Mycadelic for 20% off. Hey, you can't go wrong. Sheath underwear.
And also check out my podcast, Xian Archive, Xian Archive.
Go to the Xian Archive. Access the Xian Archive. Listen to the Xian Archive. XianArchive.com.
100%. That's us. You'll find our music there, podcasts, and our products. And it's been a pleasure. It's always great. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, dude. Okay, cool. I was like, man, I can't repeat all that stuff but okay, yeah, that's the gimmick. If you guys didn't like it, then write to Matt Xian at 10 San Antonio Drive. Tell him what you think. Dude, yeah. Till next time.
Thank you. Bon voyage.
Peace. That's it. Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Go follow Matt. Go follow Timewheel. Check out his band, Something Fiction. What else? Go to sheathunderwear.com and enter the promo code Mycadelic. Get 20% off the most comfortable pair of underwear with the dual pouch technology, moisture wicking fabric, John wicking fabric, and get 20% off sheathunderwear.com. Check out Mushroom Revival and follow Matt's, subscribe to Matt's podcast too. Check it out. Xian Archive. It's on all podcast platforms. Thanks to Danny Barnett and Galaxia for the music. If you like the podcast, you know what to do. Leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Go to patreon.com/Mike Brank and get access to my new comedy podcast, Dosadelic, coming out with new episodes every week. And get access to the private Discord server where all of us Mycadelites are chatting from all around the world. Be love, everyone. Peace.